feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank. When it's sink or swim, only option is to win. In the murky water, not a thought of giving in. Welcome to the shrimp tank. Want to put it all together, this is big thanks. Doing big things, we ain't in the same league. Running a campaign, Roadie 2016. Like a phone to die, putting me in charge. I'm a general, from the front I'ma lead the charge. Like a federal, fell on my lap never. Going hard as ever.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode here on the Shrimp Tank, powered by Celsius Beverage. If this is your first time tuning in, of course, watch all these amazing episodes up on our YouTube account at Shrimp Tank Podcast, as well as up on our website, shrimptankpodcast.com. We bring to you the best and brightest entrepreneurs in and around South Florida, of course. I'm joined by my co-host, Dr. Kevin Cox, who is the director of the FU Adams Center for Entrepreneurship. And we have a lot of amazing things going on at FAU, which Kevin's going to share at the end of this episode. And we just did a ribbon cutting for this new podcast studio. It's pretty awesome to see the city of Boca Raton coming in, filming some of it. And we had Tom DeCernia join us as well, one of the greatest entrepreneurs that has really come out of this local area in the last 15 years. Incredible to see someone in their 30s who had a business operating with over $100 million of revenue and employed hundreds of people and a lot from FAU. That's pretty cool, Kevin, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Matter of fact, I was just talking about that company and showing the students Salt Armor's website and telling them a little bit about the episode and some of the go-to-market strategies and how he leverages social media with Sama Labs to really generate some buzz. It's a great story, but that was last week. Let's move into this week.
Yeah.
Great guest today.
We do. We got Rand Taylor here. So Rand, this segment right now is all about your elevator pitch, right? Kevin teaches these students right here that it's very important to really describe your company in under 1 minute, because when you meet someone in an elevator, sometimes you don't have that much time on the elevator, of course, or at a networking event. So go for it. We're going to time you. You got 1 minute. Share with our students what your brand is all about.
Well, what's interesting is that this morning in the parking lot of the hotel, I met a guy who's got a fishing boat fleet in Alaska. And I said, I do fuel additives for particularly for fishing boats and a lot of other stuff. He goes, fuel additives? We use fuel additives all the time. I said, all right. So he goes, what do you do? And I told him, I said, what we do is I have a combustion catalyst in our fuel additive that actually gets the fuel to combust about 30% earlier. So it burns more efficiently, more thoroughly. So you get about 5 to 10% better fuel efficiency. And we reduce your emissions by about 60%. And in addition to that, you know what? I'm going to clean out your engines and everything's going to last longer. And I'm going to cut your maintenance way down. And that is our flagship product right there, Fuel Ox with a combustion catalyst. Works in any ICE engine in
Okay.
combustion.
So you're always going to get everyone like myself say, it's too good to be true, right? Because I'm sure the price is pretty reasonable. And over time, you're saving a lot of money. And everyone loves saving money.
Yep.
So how do you combat that? It's too good to be true type of follow-up rebuttal.
Yeah. So I get a lot of older guys will tell me that, right?
Yeah.
Because a lot of older guys think they know everything, right? We all do, right? So, but anyway, what I tell them is that the proof is in the pudding. Okay. So a lot of the bigger companies that I work with, I will actually allow them to do some testing at I'll give them a good rate on it, right? To actually test for themselves. So they don't have as much risk. But in the meantime, I tell them what we have in there, no one else has, as far as an organometallic combustion catalyst. Okay, designed by AT&T Bell Labs originally, the largest patent, company in the world, actually designed this about 35 years ago. It's been tweaked a little bit since then, but that product has actually been around for about 35 years in one way, shape, or form.
Okay, so this sounds like it involves a lot of complex chemistry and knowledge to create this kind of stuff. You were a successful financial advisor, not unlike Jason, the host here. Now, how did you get into this? Why this? Did you know about it? Are you a chemist? What's the backstory?
Yeah, it's an interesting story. So I'll try to make it as short as I can. A good friend of mine who was actually also from the financial world, but by the way, I was not an advisor. I was a trader. I had all the advisor credentials, but I was a trader on Wall Street for a big market making firm, and in a past life. But so one of my contacts from that, who was a tremendous analyst, looked me up about 10 years later, which would be about 2012, and said, my uncle used to make fuel additives, or actually still makes fuel additives, but came out, you used to make it for the military. It gets 20% better fuel efficiency. And I want to start selling to the general public. Can you help? And I said, no, not interested. Can't do it. I don't know anything about fuel additives, but I have friends that have trucking companies, big farmers farming thousands of acres. I'm going to get them some product and see how they like it. By the way, there's a lesson here. One of the lessons is when you help people, you help yourself. Okay. So whenever you go to help somebody else, you never know how it's going to come back. So bottom line is I gave it all out. I sent these guys some products. They loved it. My son, who had just graduated from college, is working in a cubicle in Jersey City, was miserable. And I asked him, Alec, do you want to start a company together? He goes, yeah, let's do it. I said, all right, you're the inside guy. I'm the outside guy.
Can you just touch on when someone gives you a project to do and just saying yes and running with it and trying to figure it out in the back end? Because so often people get these opportunities and they say no, right? They're like, hey, I don't really know how to do that. And they miss a huge opportunity. But in your case, you saw a huge opportunity and you said, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to figure this out. Can you speak to that for a second?
Absolutely. Well, the first thing is that if you sense there's an opportunity, but you're scared, don't be. Okay. You got to take the chance, particularly when you're young. You got to take the chance. Okay. When I started this company, I already had a family. My oldest son was 23 years old, and I had 3 younger ones behind him. So we started this, and we took the chance, but you got to take the chance. And then once we noticed it, we bootstrapped ourselves. I didn't raise money. I didn't go out and raise money. I didn't have money, coming at me. We bootstrapped ourselves with like literally a few $1,000s to get this thing off the ground.
And when was this? This is a time frame.
This was 2013.
Okay.
2013. We're about 10, 11 years into it right now. And the first year, we literally were filling up little bottles smaller than this, on our kitchen counter when we started. And then I would go out during the day and visit Department of Public Works, trucking companies, you name it. Anyone who was using fuel, I would go visit them. Alec would be on the phone calling these people, setting up appointments for me to go, because it's always easier to walk in with some sort of warm, understanding that they know you're coming, even if they don't know what you're going to talk about, at least they know some guy's walking through the door. So that's how we started the company. We did $25,000 in revenue our first year.
Nice.
It was horrible. It was, I don't know. I look back, I said, I don't know how we did it. I just don't know how we did it, but we were able to build that up, and, we're 10 years into this now and we sell it all over the world.
Yeah.
So
Jason, don't you wish you started a relatively simple, just product company instead of some complicated SaaS platform?
I'm looking for the big multiples, Kevin. Right. I'm going for a grand slam over here.
All right. Well,
but very important, I am doing what he's saying. I am not worried about the money so much. I'm worried about helping people. So whenever anybody kind of, spreads a negativity in my world, they're like, why are you doing OWL and, going after a market where it is saturated, hard to compete in, going direct to consumer, very expensive to hire talent. I always say, well, look at the results. We're helping people. And I just know that the more people we help, eventually, exactly like his situation, the money will follow.
Yeah. And Rand makes a great point, right? So one of the things, and when you were talking about helping people, but also helping yourself, one of the simplest things that I teach a lot of business owners, if you want somebody to do something for you, what's the best way to do it? Well, it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's really simple. You do something for them.
Yeah.
Right. That's the best way to get something, is to give somebody else something. And they'll feel obligated then to kind of reciprocate. That's just kind of a human condition. So I see a lot of that, and I'm guilty of sort of always saying yes to things, no matter what it is, to the extent it's reasonable, right? Well, we got a bunch of great questions from the team. They put together a profile for today. So here's an interesting one. What's the most ridiculous business advice you've ever received that actually worked?
Oh, boy.
Oh, I like that question.
It's a good one.
Because everyone knows like the general stuff, like run Facebook ads, run, get influencers.
All right. So that actually worked. Most of the stuff that we find that actually works revolves around hard work. And most of the advice I've gotten has been bad advice. I mean, people that either are negative or they give us advice that everyone else is doing. So I haven't gotten a lot of really crazy advice that's been really good advice, because I end up taking whatever they give us, and I sit down with my two sons and I run the company, and we'll sit down and we'll go through it, and most of the time we'll say it's the same thing as everybody else is doing, or we'll tweak it a little bit and come up with something that actually works, and most of it has to do with approaches, because a lot of what we do is cold calling, direct sales, just, face to face. We do a lot of trade shows. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, Saturday and Sunday, I'm over at the truck show, the Florida Truck Show in Fort Lauderdale, and then I'm next week I'm out in Vegas at the Western Petroleum Marketers Association, but so we do a lot of things that unfortunately, I can't think of anything really crazy that anybody's giving me advice.
All right. How about another one? What's a completely legal but morally questionable business move you've seen in your industry?
Oh, well, people lying. People lie about products all the time. Competitors lie, and they can get away with it because, if I tell you what this will do, and, it's hard to prove unless you actually are using the product, we have people all the time that will say that their stuff does stuff it doesn't do, and it's questionable, of course, because it's wrong, but it's not illegal. So, and people often will push that envelope, and it's an envelope I just will not push, and that's a lot of times it's to our detriment because we don't hype anything.
And where are you with the business right now? Like how many employees? What's approximate sales? Just kind of give an idea.
Yeah, we have. We did around $5 million in revenue this year.
Okay.
And we're kind of at that. I think we're at that hockey stick point because we have a lot of huge irons in the fire. We have a number of countries that are have way down the road in testing our product, and something they want to use in their entire country to reduce their emissions primarily. But I have 12 employees. I probably have another 25 reps that are out there around the world who are eat what you kill, so they're not employees, but, and all these numbers are kind of growing. We've taken some tremendous steps in the last 6 months to vertically integrate. Whereas in the past, my main product used to be made by another company, and now we make it ourselves because we purchased the rights to do so.
And where are you headquartered?
New Jersey.
Okay. And what are the chances that you're going to switch headquarters down here? South Florida, you're visiting Boca,
something
right? It's a more tax-friendly state than New Jersey, of course.
Yeah, we're actually looking at Florida, Huntsville, Alabama, and Greenville, South Carolina right now.
So you are looking.
We are looking because we're going to build a facility to actually produce our products.
Well, for companies thinking about moving to South Florida, there's potentially, not for all companies, no better landing spot than the Research Park right here at Florida Atlantic University. They provide soft landing for companies that want to enter the U.S. from another country, or they want to relocate or start their headquarters kind of in a subsidized commercial space, right? So you can get that space through a program called Global Ventures for 1/3 of the market cost in Boca, which is pretty high, and you can maintain that level for 3 years, and then they want full price, but by then you can afford it, hopefully.
Yeah, well, definitely something to think about for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, going back to the marketing things that you were speaking about, can you give us the best verticals, right? We see products like this, and often we see people going direct to consumer on a website because you could own more of the data, for example, or they're going after distributors, right? To go to your local stores. Obviously, you get this in Costco, BJ's, but also the automotive stores is an example. And then, you could have brand ambassadors, right? Representing your products. And I've seen your social media account, and you guys are doing some really creative things on social media. So can you explain which are the verticals that you go heavier on? Because everyone could say that they're cold calling, they're going to trade shows, and you can't do everything. No. You have to double down on the ones that are doing better, of course. And the other ones sometimes aren't doing as good, but they kind of help the other one sometimes.
Yeah, those are really great questions, because when you have a company as you're growing, what you're going to do, what we did at least, was follow the path of least resistance. In other words, where do you get the most bang for your buck? In what areas, in what types of selling, and what types of companies, and so forth. And what we've found now, 10 years into this, is that what we really target is fuel suppliers, got people that distribute fuel, because they distribute the most. That's the most volume you can do. Okay. We also concentrate in a couple of industries like mining, and trucking, municipalities, because they also use a fair amount of fuel. What we don't concentrate a lot on is retail. We do the basics for online. We do have, a decent social media setup. I will tell you this: the industry that I'm in fuel additives and fuel and stuff like that, tends to be a very old and not a very creative industry. So our competition is not, quite honestly, not as astute as most other industries. So we're fortunate in that regard. But what we sell online, which by the way grows every year and continues to do very well, is nothing close to what we sell when we start supplying mining companies that use, that are going through 2 million gallons of fuel a month.
And what about good old PR, right? Some people have great things that come from PR firms, and others not so much. They do it themselves, of course, because everyone's got social media and can read an article on ChatGPT. And I think, it's a lost art. Good PR companies, are fantastic to work with when you find the right one.
Yeah, we've been able to find a couple of good ones that we used over the years that we still use. Transmedia here in locally is in Florida, does a great job for us. But we've also had other ones that quite honestly don't do a particularly good job.
Yeah.
So you need to find the right people that are, and they also have to understand you. What we do is not the same as what everybody else does. So our needs are very unique.
That's a good point. You have to find good chemistry.
Yeah. So I've got a question. So the student team that's in charge of managing the show for this week did a bunch of great resources. Look, they got all these sources and stuff. And I was reading, admittedly skimming some of the research in there. And it made me think, if this stuff is so beneficial, why isn't it just in fuel?
A good question. Honestly, I think it should be,
It seems like it.
It's a lot of it is exposure. Most companies don't know anything about us. Most of the big fuel suppliers don't know anything about. I will tell you this: the thing about big fuel suppliers, when you talk about, the huge companies that are distributing fuel around the country, their idea is to get it out of the refinery and get it into the pipeline, or to get it out of the trucks and deliver it as cheaply as possible. Okay. They will give you what they're sending out is really the bare bones minimum of what it takes to get it into the pumps and into your cars or into the trucks or whatever they're going. Okay. So they don't want an added cost. I would be an added cost. Okay. Also, the fact that we actually improve your combustion and reduce your fuel efficiency.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's it. They don't want to sell something that they're going to sell 5%. It's going to take 5% of their business or 10% of their business away.
All right. One more fantastic question. I don't know where they came up with these questions, Jason. They're getting more creative by the week here. Mm-hmm. So you wake up in a dystopian world where fuel is outlawed. What's your new business idea?
That's a great question. I like that.
Well, the good thing is that I have lubricants also. So machinery is machinery. Machinery ain't going away. Okay. Just the diesel fuel, they may try to get rid of it, which by the way, they're not. Okay. That's also gonna be around a lot longer than people think. But to answer your question, I would immediately switch over to lubricants, concentrate on that, as well as what we're all about is profitable sustainability for industrial companies. So we're looking at other aspects of products as well, cleaning products and so forth, that are all environmentally friendly, that will do a great job, but also are great for the environment. So we would just focus. We would definitely shift and pivot into something
And he knows he knows distribution. Once you have products, it's like last week's this with Thomas Discernia. It's like once you figure this out, how to get something in a bottle, right? And how to distribute it, how to sell, you really can sell anything.
Yeah.
Right. Overnight. Like if you want to figure out like, okay, we'll sell water, right? Somehow you will figure out how to sell X amount of these waters and figure it out. Like look at the liquid death water.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the name.
liquid death.
But that's where I was going. It's like they're selling water for like 10 times the price and billions of dollars of it. It's absolutely crazy. Let's get the students involved. So we're gonna pan out so everybody watching right now could see the student audience. And students, if you want to come on up, we're gonna invite you to ask him a question right now. So don't be shy. Let's go, Kevin. Here we go.
By the way, as he's getting ready, my suggestion also is listen to as many podcasts as you can about how people started businesses. The liquid death story is insane.
Yeah.
So.
Hello, my name is Tyler. I was just wondering, you said that you spent a lot of time meeting with truck companies, other things like that, and you have people meeting in other countries right now, things like that. So what are some of the things that gets talked about in situations like that, in meetings like that?
You know what, Tyler, that's a great question. What we really concentrate on when we meet people is solving their problems. Okay. What is the issue? What is your issue? What is the problem you're having? And then what we'll talk about is how we can solve the problem. Okay. And when I do that, I ask a lot of yes questions. Okay. I mean, you have a problem with regens. Are you having problems with stuff growing in your fuel? You know, have you had issues with your emission systems? And these are all yes questions, right? And then you can segue into, okay, this is how we can solve them. So that's almost every first conversation I ever have are right along those lines.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, Hi, my name is Erica. You mentioned that you are planning, you have a potential customer that might be an entire country. I was wondering what steps you're actively taking to plan to scale to that size.
That's again, phenomenal question, because you can't even have those conversations unless you're ready to scale. You know, the fortunate thing is right now, the blending company that I use to make our product has amazing capacity. So I have the ability to do that, to make that within a couple months. I can make up almost any amount I need, which is great. The other cool thing too about our product is that it's super concentrated. So one drum of this product will treat 550,000 gallons. Wow. So even if I get a country, or any customer that wants to treat, they want to treat 50 million gallons, it works out. It's like 100 drums. You know, I can have that made up in relatively short order. But for other products that are out there, they would have to make as much as 10 times as much, which of course could be a major problem for them. But because ours is so concentrated, it actually helps me quite a bit.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. And do you have a lot of competition?
Oh my gosh. I mean, you talk about competition. Yeah. I mean, if you go to any truck stop, go to any Napa store, there's there's 25 different fuel additives on every one. If you go into the wholesale guys, there's usually 10 or 15 bigger names out there we compete against. None of them have a combustion catalyst to speak of. There's a couple that do, but for the most part, they're really not. None of my real competition does. And that's what separates us from everybody else.
Okay, Kevin, it's time for that next segment. You're excited about this.
Yeah. You want to play a game today?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, all right. So the students put together a fun game today called Fuel or Fool, where we're going to test Rand's knowledge about fuel systems.
Oh boy.
Gasoline and all that kind of stuff. So there's questions at the bottom of that page, Jason, and there's a bunch more on the back. So
you're not going to embarrass me here, are you?
Well,
I don't know the first thing about fuel. I'm like every normal person. I get to the gas station and my car takes premium. I put premium in, I'm done. That's about all I know. And my car goes from A to B.
Well, we'll start with a really easy one. And it's just true or false. So you got a 50-50 shot either way. A clean fuel system can improve engine longevity.
Absolutely.
All right. True.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go. Premium fuel always makes your car run better.
It's debatable.
Ooh.
Is it, what kind of true or false, Rand?
It's, you know what? It doesn't hurt. Let's put it that way. Okay. So it doesn't always. No, the answer is false. It does not always.
All right, he nailed
Okay.
it.
He got
Okay.
it. He got it.
Adding sugar to a gas tank will ruin the engine.
Yeah, that's not a good thing to do.
I think I actually knew that one as well. I think that was one of the pranks if you didn't like someone, right?
Well,
that you do
oh
on someone
God.
back in the day.
So what they say about that one is it won't dissolve, but it won't destroy the whole engine.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing to do anyway.
Ooh,
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I like this one. Using cruise control on the highway can improve your fuel efficiency.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You got it right.
Yeah.
You got it right.
He's pretty sharp so far. All right. Idling your
Better
car.
be lucky than
Right?
good.
Or, you know,
Idling your car for more than a minute waste fuel.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I mean, that's kind of an obvious, right? When
Yeah.
you're sitting there, it's not going anywhere. You're going to burn fuel.
Filling up your gas tank in the morning saves money. This one's harder.
Yeah, I don't know how that works out.
Yeah, I would say.
Well, I'll tell you. Well,
would say
cooler
false, but-
temperatures mean slightly denser fuel.
Oh,
The
okay.
difference is very minimal.
Yeah.
So that one's false.
Diesel engines are less fuel efficient than gasoline engines.
That's an interesting question, because the bottom line is that it depends how you're measuring it.
Ooh.
Okay, because diesel fuel has a lot more power in it, a lot more BTUs in it. So it's actually needed because while you're going to get less miles per gallon because you're driving a bigger truck that has more weight to it and everything, you're actually getting more power out of it. But your gasoline engines, of course, are going to get better fuel efficiency because they're smaller and they're lighter.
Okay. A dirty air filter can reduce your gas mileage.
You can. That's true.
All right.
Oh, there's a good one. I always get caught up with this one. You should change your engine oil every 3,000 miles.
That's debatable. That really is. That's overkill
And
for most people.
and I guess let's take it a step further because most people are now, using synthetic oil, right?
Yeah.
So what about synthetic? Like it used to be like, hey, every 10,000. Then all of a sudden I'm getting the sticker every 5,000. So what's the
Yeah,
truth there?
the kind of consensus of opinion is about 75 every 7,500 miles.
Okay.
You should do it. The bottom line is, can you go for it? Yes, you probably can. The problem with engine oil is that you have the worst thing about engine oil is that inside your engine, you have friction and you get micro pieces of metals. Actually, they're called wear metals, and the wear metals are what makes your engine oil go bad. So you want to make sure that you don't have too much of that in there, because the more you have in there, the worse it is for your engine. So you should just change your oil at a normal, whatever. If it's 3,000 for you, fine. But most people are around 7,500 now. Most engine OEMs, suggest around 7,500.
All right. I just got one more. And I drive an EV. Electric vehicles have zero emissions.
Depends where you're counting the emissions.
Yeah. That one's
You
going to
gotta-
be
you gotta-
false,
you-
right? It's
you gotta
energy's
plug it
coming
in.
from somewhere.
And well,
Absolutely.
the power's coming from somewhere too, So, but the actual engine itself, correct? No emissions for the actual engine itself.
Yeah, well, you've risen to the level of what they called master mechanic. So there was another segment on here, but I'll kind of summarize it because we're running out of time. Do you think you could ever go back to working a kind of traditional 9-to-5 job?
I've never really had a traditional 9-to-5 job. Everything I've ever had in my life, for the most part, has been either I own my own business or it was eat what you kill, which was 100% commission. And that's the only type of job I would have. If I ever went back to a 9-to-5, it wouldn't even be 9-to-5. It would just be pure 100% commission. But the answer is, I don't think I could ever work for anybody else but myself.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson, particularly for the students. I find a lot of students in this generation kind of veer away from sales, and I hypothesize that's for a couple reasons. Typically, when you're in college, you're usually confronted with terrible sales job. I had a terrible sales job for like a credit card company doing like debt consolidation, basically cold calling people who were already in debt about a financial thing. They didn't want that call. Like, it wasn't a good job. But I encourage certain students, right, to think about sales, right? That is still to this day one of very, very few jobs where there tends to be, depending on the nature of the sales, no cap on your income, right? It's based on commission. And that's pretty unique. You can find that you can sometimes find really great sales job, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that ice cold random calling. It may be more of a professionalized sale, right?
Sure.
To a larger client. And you're picturing yourself in this room just dialing for dollars all day.
Software sales.
More
Absolutely.
of it's, messaging people, setting up a meeting, going to a nice lunch. It's not the terrible sales job. So I always encourage students who are open to it and kind of outgoing and would like a challenging scenario that says, you put it, eat what you kill, to think about sales.
Well, financial services, that still shows, makes the most millionaires out of any other profession because of sales, right? Think about like financial advisors, very salesy your first 10 years before you build your book of business. Insurance, think about the healthcare sales, property and casualty, right? Everyone needs homeowners insurance, auto insurance. I mean, these are professions that are all sales based in those early years.
And all have residuals.
All have residuals, but no one's entering. I think on all those I just mentioned, it's like under 3% are under 35. I know that's the stat for financial advisors. There's no one joining our industry anymore, right? And all these financial advisors one day have to pass their books of business down, right? And likely they're not going to be doing that, but naturally they're going to run into health issues and they're going to be forced to, right?
Yeah.
Or death, of course. So it's a great industry to jump into, and it's very professional. And even real estate, think about real estate professionals, sales. I mean, it's very saturated, very hard, but usually 5% of people are the ones really working day in and day out, not doing it part-time and making all the money. And that goes for many sales positions. So completely agree with you.
I'll tell you another great opportunity I think that's emerging right now too is beside the fact that anybody that's in an engine in any kind of mechanic or heating and cooling or any kind of hand, you're using your hands, plumbing, for every 5 guys that are retiring in those industries, there's only like 2 people coming on.
The trades. Yeah.
The trades are like massive opportunities. And I also think that to buy trade companies from millennials who are retiring,
Yes.
their kids don't want them. So you have all these companies out there that of like 5 or 10 people there, but they're turning out a few $1 million each with massive amounts of margin. There's an opportunity, and you can, a lot of these you can purchase with almost no money down if you're creative. So there are some real opportunities out there right now.
Yeah, and there will be for the foreseeable future.
Exactly.
When you talk about small business acquisition,
Mhm.
because they have to retire or, as Jason referenced,
And
pass away
and
like,
turn them into a tech
yeah.
company overnight.
And their
Just
kids-
layer
their
on
kids don't want 'em.
technology.
No, we know that from a family business research conducted
Yeah.
by our friend Roland.
Yes. Okay, Kevin, it's this time of the show. You got to tell us what's going on at FAU before we close out.
Well, I mean, there's always a ton. This is the final week to submit your applications for our business pitch competition. Some students in this class have some really interesting ideas. They're welcome to apply for their chance in their portion of $10,000 in seed funding. How sweet is that? And then this week, all of these students and all my students from all my classes have gotten free passes and registration if they want to the IT Expo, which is going on today and tomorrow at the Broward Convention Center. I would encourage people to go and check out the IT Expo. And if you happen to be watching or listening and need a promo code to get yourself a free ticket, just reach out to me. I'll get you in there.
Awesome. Well, Rand, thanks for joining us here on the Shrimp Tank today. Everybody listening, check the show notes and reach out to Rand through LinkedIn, Instagram, follow all his accounts. And of course, he is also on the Owl app that I operate, and you call him one-on-one there as well. Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having me.